Has modern day culture made relationships harder than they really need to be? We are going to talk about that today. Some people are looking for a soulmate, others are looking for safety, others are looking for um, perfection. Or is that you? But marriage may actually require something much simpler and much harder than all three. I am your host, Lorraine Edwards. Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser. We have seen so many relationships go over the edge that we have committed our voices to building better fences at the cliff. So we need fewer ambulances in the valley. And with me, trying to get in today, is my co host with some fence building wisdom, Onita Hall. She should be here. We're having some technical difficulties, but welcome. We're happy to have you here with us. Please join us in the chat. Let us know your thoughts about the topics that we are going to discuss today. And I hope that you'll be in the chat. So I'm not talking about this by myself. It is Hot Topic Tuesday. And tonight we are diving into modern dating, compatibility, expectations, relationship advice online, including us, and whether we may actually be overcomplicating relationships. At this point,
Can you hear me?
okay, there she is.
Lord,
Y'all, welcome. Had some technical challenges there, but we're happy to have you here with us, Onita Hall. How you doing, Onita?
I'm doing good. I just don't know why technology, for some reason today, kept blocking restream from my mic and my camera. The
Mm.
devil is a liar. But I'm doing good. So happy to see you be here today live on this Tuesday evening and ready for some hot topics.
All right. Well, so everyone's talking about giving their opinion online, including us. So, we try to use Bible and real statistics, but at the end of the day, some people may think, oh, well, you're giving your opinion. So wait on God, just choose, don't settle, follow your heart, use discernment, date intentionally. But with all the voices online, all the dating content, all the podcasts, all the influencers, how do you actually know what wisdom looks like anymore? So that's just one of the things that we're going to talk about today, but we're not going to start there. We're going to, because that probably will take a little bit longer. We're going to start somewhere else. So are you ready to dive into these questions that we have for today,
Yes,
Onita?
I am. Let's get right
Love that background.
ahead.
Um, so, and forgive me for not playing the video, and because I am having some technical challenges, and so I don't want to um, have a problem and get shut down all the way. So I'm not going to play any videos. But there's a gentleman named JP Pagluda. I never heard of him before. This past weekend, um, when you are in a certain space or you're watching certain things, your algorithm will start pushing similar things to you. And of course, there's a host of, relationship podcasts or things talking about relationships. And this got pushed to me. I didn't know either one of these people. Lila Rose is the host of this podcast, and JP is the guest. And on his podcast, the podcast title was "How to Get Married," or at least a clip, "How to Get Married in a Year." And I was like, click. I was interested in what he was about to say about that. So if you're here with us, let us know in the chat. Just give us a shout out. And so the first clip that the first question that I see in the clip is, she says, "You've told men, Christian men, and this is, Christian
Mhm.
based, that that it's very easy to get married in a year. This is what you do." So I'm like,
Tuning in.
I'm I'm all ears. And what he said was, um, pick the godliest or most holy, not in a, not in a, he's not saying it as a condemnation. He's saying it as a validation. Someone who has a godly life, pick the godliest woman that you know that is available and ask her out on a date. And don't worry about like what she looks like or none of that. Just if she's godly, ask her out on a date. So I'm going to just start there, because like the question is, should you just pick a godly available person? Is that like that? We're just going to start there. Should you just pick a godly available person and just go out with them? What do you think about that? I have thoughts, but what do you think about that? And let us know in the chat what you think about that. I know you don't have the whole context, but that's essentially what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, go observe, look in your church, wherever, find the godliest woman you know and ask her out. I'll tell you whatever he says after that, but let's start there.
First of all, I would like to commend that brother because, and I think I sent you this text earlier, that unfortunately there appears to be a lot of available women in church, way more women than men.
Mm,
And so it's like kudos. Hey, that's tell these brothers, stop looking outside, go in the church and find you one. But also being a member of the church, also recognize a lot of us are in there following the religion, but and we're necessarily deemed fully godly because people are mean, okay? They're not necessarily
mm-hmm,
having all the characteristics of Christ. And so to just go and let that be the most deciding factor. I would assume, because I didn't get to watch the whole clip, been running around all day looking at places. Um, I would assume he's saying that because the Bible says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all
mm,
these things will be added unto you." So I'm assuming he's
mm,
saying if that person is seeking after God, then all these other things, all this goodness and mercy, the fruits of the Spirit, she's going to possibly possess all of these things. And so if she possesses all of those things, she'll be a good fit for you. That's what I'm going to assume is why he's meaning that and intended that. Because what I do know to be true is also there has to be some attraction there. There was this show many years ago, and I
mm-hmm,
would never forget it. It's called the Millionaire Matchmaker. That was the first like Bravo, one of those shows on WeTV, and she was kind
mm-hmm,
of she was kind of over the top hysterical New Yorker woman out here in LA helping people meet. But she used to always say, you know, even though these women had all these features, some of these girls look like they just spent all their days in the lab, in the library. They were great, but they didn't necessarily look as attractive on the outside, and where a man would see them and go, "Hey, I want to holler at you." And she's always say, the guy still has to want to be attracted to you too, to at least come and ask you out.
mm-hmm.
So godly, yes, but also, you know, you're just gonna go pick her because she teaches. You heard her do children's stories, and you're thinking, "Man, she's godly," or she's singing every week. Like, what is parameters around that to make you go,
That's good. I'm kind of glad that you didn't watch the whole clip, because then we can have a real conversation.
yes,
We can have a real discussion, because you don't know the whole thing.
yes,
So I did not watch the whole podcast, but the clip was like 8 minutes, so it gives a whole kind of context of that part of the interview. And what he is saying is, yeah, don't worry about whether you're attracted to
so,
her or not. He actually pretty specifically said that. He's like, don't worry about that. It's one date. It's one date, because how many of us know, you know, that you can have a certain feeling about someone at one point and then marry them? Because we, if y'all been around for a while, Onita's story. She wasn't so keen on Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Hall
Okay.
at the beginning, and he wasn't so keen on
Right.
her. So that's his point. His point is not to marry somebody that you're not attracted to. But when we start with, I have to be attracted to them before I ask them out, we limit the possibilities that are out
Yeah.
there. I know for me, there have been men that I was not attracted to physically, but then I became friends with them just through, life and church or
Hmm.
whatever. And then I was attracted to them because of who they are. And so I was like, this is actually good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Really good advice, but most people I think won't take that advice. He said his wife was not attracted to him really because he said he's like 6'7" and she's 5'2", and she was just like not interested in having some giant,
Right.
the Jolly Green Giant. She wasn't interested in being with the Jolly
Yeah.
Green Giant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now they're married. I mean, they've been married for a long time. And so we think that we need to like have all of these feelings and all of that for the person before we just say yes to going to a park or going to tea or coffee, or if you drink that, or dinner or what. Like, it's one
Yeah.
date, but you don't know how that could actually change your
Yeah.
destiny
Yeah.
if that's the thing. So yeah,
You know, I'm so
that's his
I'm
opinion.
so glad you said that too, because it also made me think about, arranged marriages back in the day. And I actually knew a person
Hmm.
at our church. We would live in Rhode Island. It was an arranged marriage, but she said culturally, because she's from Cape Verde, small island off the coast of Africa, and she said that's how all of their marriages were. They were arranged. The parents said these two are together, and you got together. And of course, she was not attracted to her husband. And let's be clear, attraction can be flexible. To your point, I couldn't stand my husband initially. I was like, whatever. Um, and unfortunately,
Look at
until
this.
it's 4 kids later, and a dog,
Yeah.
and a dog
and
together. But
and a
and
dog.
but because of that, they had to make a choice. They had to choose to love, because, and I've
Hmm.
jokingly said again, gravity, comes in, and age, and having kids, and all the things. And so the one that, that dime that you marry, she's still a dime, but some of the things that you were officially attracted to initially may not be sitting up the same way. And so,
Might be a quarter or a 50-cent
okay.
piece. But that's worth more than a
Okay.
dime. It's worth more
It's worth more than
than
a
a dime.
dime. But the world we live in today, social media has actually created this fantasy level expectations. And so, because you're just
Hmm.
endless scrolling, just creates an illusion
Yeah.
of, oh, there's better options. And so I need to compare.
Yeah.
And then people can begin to compare, here are these curated, cap cut reels. The lighting is perfect, everything is great. And people just
Yeah.
assume that that's what it is. And nobody can really compete with that. That's an imaginary person. And so
Hmm.
when you're going to choose a godly person, like we said, foundationally, you're starting off in the right space, because with God, all things are possible. And if this person is truly wanting to be abiding God, and God abides in them, then the fruits of their spirits, you're going to need patience. Okay. Love comes. You're going to need somebody who's gentle. You're going to need some long suffering. Okay. Some self
Yep.
control, some gentleness. These are things that that person is going to
Hmm.
need if you're truly looking to be in relationship and get married to this person. And so I think that's some good advice. And like you said, it's one date. My husband always says to me, Onita, the worst date, you could either a yes or no. Because sometimes I don't want to ask the question. It's like, ask the question. It's a yes or a no. So we're saying, go on a date, choose a godly woman, stop looking at these imaginary people, trying to get this perfect, real of
Hmm.
a person. And getting there's so many women. We're gonna do a whole episode on this. There's so many good women in church looking for a godly man, and where
Yeah.
are they?
You're right. You're right. You're right. And the other side of that is for us to say yes to that. You know, don't
Yes.
just stop trying to I think I love the word you said, curate. Stop trying to curate the perfect life from one date. Just go on the date.
Yes.
Like be safe and of course all of that, but go on the date, because even if that person doesn't become the person, you still have an experience, and they could become someone that's a good friend to you or whatever, but you still have the experience, especially when you aren't dating a lot. You have the experience of going out on a date. What do you like? What do you don't like? If you've never done it, sometimes it's hard to even know, or it's been a long time, it's
Yeah.
hard to even know. I was just telling you a few weeks ago, even talking to the gentleman that I've been talking to, that just getting used to talking to a man again
Hmm.
because it's been a long time. I think that's important too. But the main thing is that, what if you like him? What
Right.
if he likes you? And what if is exactly the thing that you were looking for, but you were looking over there when it was over there?
Yes.
So, so well, we agree. Like that's
Right.
actually good advice. Um, because you never know what can happen from that one date. But
Hmm.
let's take it to another level. You ready to take it to another level?
Yes.
Um, so this is the second part of that clip. Can any two mature Christians
Mm.
build a happy marriage? So, so he was saying, um, he said, she asked him specifically, do you believe that any two Christians, like real Christians, people who are
Hmm.
surrendered to God, walking with him, not just cultural Christians or, you know, people on the surface, like real Christians,
Hmm.
can any two real Christians get married and have a happy marriage? And his answer was yes. So now we're taking it to the next level. We're not just at the one date. All
Okay.
right, Onita, what are your thoughts? What say you, Onita Hall?
He said, so can any two mature Christians build a happy marriage?
Hmm.
Ooh.
He's not saying, and the question isn't mature like older. He's just saying like real people who are real Christ. They're
Hmm.
mature in their Christianity.
Yeah.
They're surrendered
Yes.
to Christ. All of those things.
Okay. So
Not
basically,
perfect, but
yeah.
surrendered to Christ. Because
So is compatibility discovered or is it created?
mm,
Because oh, so basically they're still in the same plane in that area where they're both mature Christians walking out their faith. They're not just showing up for Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. Okay, these are two people he's talking about. And so I would say, he just said flat out yes. First of all, I want to know where this guy, who are the Christians and he know, because good God, he has faith in these people. I want to say where you live, what church you go to, because you got a lot of faith in these people. But yeah, I would say, well, one, people talk about chemistry and compatibility, but compatibility can be overrated. And then actually,
mhm.
most couples are not necessarily naturally compatible in every area. And so, yes, they are
Mhm.
Christians, but there's still things they need to learn. We have to learn our communication styles. We have to learn our conflict resolution and discussing our finances, family expectations, intimacy, household management. So, just being a Christian alone, a mature Christian alone, doesn't mean it's just going to work. These are still things we have to work at or discuss in order to have a good, healthy relationship. And some of these strengths don't develop until after marriage. And so, again, I think the Christian aspect of that is one, your faith is saying that in this world there will be trials. But be of good cheer,
Mhm.
for I've overcome this world. Like one is that you both are saying we're in it for the long haul. That we recognize
Mhm.
that hey, things are not always going to be good. But rather than running to the bar or running to look to somebody else, these two mature Christians recognize we need to go to God. We need to pray about it, and so that we can work on this together. Um, I think I've seen some people older, well, more mature Christians come together later in life, and I see them have fulfilling marriages because they are sure. of who they are in Christ, of their calling, their purpose. They're walking in alignment. And so a lot of that early on stuff, putting on a facade, showing up as who you think the person wants to see and not who you really are, I think a lot of that fades at that point because you do know who you are in Christ. So it
Mm-hmm.
can make for the relationship foundationally and as it progresses to be a better one because faith is a staple in your who you are as a person as a mature Christian,
Right.
but who you also are
Right.
joining now with, and so that's going to help and keep you in those times,
Mm-hmm.
um, and your
Mm-hmm.
commitment. You both have
Yeah.
already said now, I'm dedicating my life to Christ. I've surrendered to Him. I'm submitting to Him. So now I can also now submit to this person because I recognize
Mm,
who God, what, how the Bible has kind of set up and established what a marriage and a relationship should be. So we're in alignment on that. Our thinking or our faith bases align with that. And so it could be a really good relationship. I,
mm.
yeah,
Okay.
so I think
Okay.
it's possible. This brother has faith. He's in. I'm pulling off of his faith,
You're pulling off
pulling
of
off
his
his
faith.
faith.
Okay.
I know two couples personally that were a little bit older and also mature in their faith that got together, and I mean it just seems and
Mm-hmm.
their marriages seem good, like really good, healthy,
Mm,
loving. They are both walking in their purpose, and neither are trying to change the other person. Like know who each other are, is, and it seems good and
mm.
healthy. So.
Yeah. So, as you were talking, I was thinking about this from the perspective of the
Hmm.
Bible, because there wasn't a lot of dating going on in the Bible.
No, no.
And, dating is a pretty more modern concept. And in very few of the relationships that we see in the Bible do we see um, any really a lot of premarital in engagement. So what I mean by that is, so we see Ruth and Boaz, the famous, she's working in the field. He sees her. He's like, "Who is that?" They tell her. He knows Naomi because he's related to
Hmm.
Naomi. Um, and but he's a distant cousin, and he sees or family member. He sees, oh, she's working really hard. She's here. She came back to take care of her. So he's observing her
Yeah.
character, but he's not like out talking about like how do you manage your budget and stuff like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um, which we are certainly not saying that's not an important conversation.
Yes.
But don't get that twisted, because that can make some people make a fall or rise or fall. Their relationship
Hmm.
rises and fall. How those expenses go down and the money, because I was fighting about it. But we see Jacob. Jacob saw Rachel. He just saw her. She was beautiful. He skipped the first question, and he just like he got first he saw her. He's like, oh, I'm gonna work for her.
Hmm.
We can imagine that over those 7 years they're engaging with each other. We just don't see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was living at the house. It's not like I don't think they were just like, you can't talk to this person ever until the 7 years are up. Um, David, and the other one I was going to mention was David and
Hmm.
Abigail. Now, David had some issues because he was already married. And so that's a different problem that we don't need to talk about here. We are one wife, one husband, that's all. Because most people can't even manage that really
Hmm.
well. So trying to add to it is really a problem. But David saw Abigail basically save his whole kingdom because of how she interacted with him and stopped him from doing something that was really, really
Hmm.
foolish. I mean, he went on to do some other foolish stuff for sure, but not as foolish as this probably would have been. No, he as foolish, but that's a different topic. But he saw her character
Yes.
in, but that was one conversation, and then he goes back, and then as soon as she's available, he's like, "Go get her for me," you know. So, but we're really seeing that not a lot is required now. We don't live in the same circumstances as in the Bible, but we do serve the same
Right.
God as in the Bible. And this question is really about your level of surrender to Him. And part of that to me is about, like, the more surrendered I am to God, the more discerning I am as
Mhm.
well, because the Holy Spirit is speaking to me. So in no way would I ever say any two Christians, regardless of anything other than being Christian, could you be married to each other and have a happy marriage. Now, anybody can be
Yeah.
married. But what I will say is that if you make a commitment to God all, all the way, and that person is, you could be married, happily married to many more people than you think you
Oh
could.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's not just anybody, because obviously there's some parameters, age, and those types of things that you might have. Um, but I think that for many of us, there's this idea, as I said at the beginning, of like the soulmate,
Hmm.
this person in all of the world. And I'm not saying God can't do that. And I do believe there is a best one.
Yes.
I do believe that, because I think that if God cares about your purpose and God cares about all of these other aspects of your life, I think He has a plan for your partner as well.
Yes.
So I don't call it soulmate, because that's really comes from a Greek mythology type thing. But I do believe soulmate in the sense of that person will put your soul before everything else, and you put their soul before everything else.
Yes.
So I want this person to be saved. But I think that there are many people that, if we opened our heart and our mind to what God is saying, there are many people that we could be happily married to if we are both in Christ and Christ in us.
Amen.
So I might put a little bit of limitation than he put, but
Yeah.
but I still think it's broader than we think it
Yeah.
is.
I agree.
Um so the main point that I think that he wants to bring across, and maybe we do as well, is that some people are searching for someone who never triggers their discomfort
Mm.
instead of someone capable of building something healthy. So what we're looking for is like a perfect fit. And these, what I think you said it, like this fantasy
Hmm.
person versus someone that we could build
Yeah.
together with, build a life together. So many people may be eliminating potentially healthy relationships because they are chasing fantasy or certainty, emotional perfection, endless compatibility markers. You said, sometimes compatibility is not realistic in everything. And that's true. You don't want to marry yourself.
Right.
I mean, some people do.
Some shared experiences. Yeah.
You don't want to marry yourself because you might realize you're not as great as you thought.
Right. And you annoy you sometimes.
Exactly. And you need someone to balance out what, the other sides of
Yeah.
you, the opposite,
Yeah.
uh, but the reality is marriage is not sustained by vibes. It is sustained by character, emotional maturity, sacrifice, friendship, and shared values.
Yes.
So if we are keeping our heart and our mind open to that, I think we have a lot better opportunities to broaden our horizons without just, throwing out all restraint and discernment.
Yes. Totally agree.
Okay. So this also goes along. This isn't from him, but this is just one that I came up with. Um, or maybe I found it somewhere. I don't want to take credit if credit is not due. Should family and friends and family set you up?
Mm-mm.
All right, people in the chat, come
What
on.
say
Don't
thou?
leave us here having this. Don't let us have this conversation by ourselves.
Um,
Y'all didn't tell me what you thought about those other two questions, but should family and friends try to set you up with someone? Oh, someone's got something to say. Let's see. Um, before the sexual revolution equals more marriage, less divorce, less single mothers. After the sexual revolution, high divorce, more single mothers, and absent fathers. Let's not forget
mhm.
that. Single fathers, because fathers are the one making people pregnant. Um, so this is absolutely true,
Yes, yes,
Um, but also, I mean, the reality is sin. Sin was happening a long time ago,
yes.
before before this particular point in time when there was a sexual revolution. I think we were covering it up better,
Hmm.
but uh, just talking about David wilding out. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, he just had to have her.
So thank you for that.
Yes.
But this is true. So and we also we want to, obviously we don't want to just not be divorced. We want to have happy marriages. So the qualification is, the qualifier for him was happy, happy marriages. And I think that that's an important thing. Like that's the part about being surrendered to Christ.
Mhm.
So back to, what are we thinking about setting up? Should we set people up?
Um,
And what would that look like if yes?
yeah, so one again, we were never designed to do life alone in isolation. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that comes to even certain decisions. So we often people will seek advice for their careers, their finances, their health, but then we often resist in relationships. A lot of times people are private and secret when it comes around the relationship. I can't even count on two hands the amount of people that popped up to church already married. We never saw them dating. They just, Pastor,
Mm-hmm.
this is my new husband. And then, 2 months later, crying, Pastor, we need counseling. And he's like, where were you all those months while you were dating in secret so we could have, tackled some of this stuff up front early on before you went and said I do wherever you said it at, because you didn't even do it at our church. You wouldn't marry such and such somewhere and just brought him. This is his first time coming to church with you after y'all got married. Don't do it in isolation. I've seen that happen so many times. And so we weren't made to do that. I think your family can help. Maybe if it's not the setting you up, maybe they didn't find the person for you, but maybe definitely giving you advice. We've talked about this before about bringing your person you are dating around your community so that they can see some things, because our emotions sometimes can cloud judgment, and we're only looking at all of the good things he's told us about himself and how he makes us feel in that moment. But then you bring him over for a game night and family can see this person is ill-tempered, like they get mad fast, they're not able to lose, they're not able to say good game and shake your hand, and that stuff will manifest itself later. And then your family knows you, your family, your friend knows you and loves you best. So
Mm-hmm.
if they've actually have a relationship with this person, and that's mean they're looking at their character. They're just not looking at, oh, he has a good job and da da da. They've actually seen this person's character. I think they would
Mm-hmm.
be a good person. This is be a good matchmaking situation for you, because the family member who cares for you knows you and they want the best for you. And so, them hooking you up with somebody could be a really good thing. And the people we love the most, like they know us better than our algorithm. Put it that way. I can click like on a couple things, and of course the algorithm is going to just keep feeding me stuff, right? For people
Mm-hmm.
that know us,
Mm-hmm.
they go, girl, you're not even really into that. You ain't trying to do Pilates for real. The treadmill is your thing. Get off. Don't you order that? Don't you order that Pilates kit just because you see it in your algorithm? The same with the dating. If you may think, because sometimes, and we've talked about this, and ladies, And gents, you do need to have your list. You need to write your vision and make a plan. But your family member also knows that some of those things on your list are unrealistic. Again, you're trying to make Mr. Perfect, you know, and
Yeah.
or Mrs. Perfect. So some of the things are unrealistic, but the family member knows you, or your best friend. They know you, they love you. They've even been around to see some of your other relationships crash and burn. So they also know. I'm just gonna put it like I'm just because if you ain't married, they crash and burn. Um, but they also know what didn't work right for you. If you keep picking, like I know a woman who she always had to keep picking a musician,
Mm-hmm.
and but then it never came to anything. And it's like, sis, maybe it's because some of their some of the things you also like about them are also some of the things that are not good for you. Because if he is
Mm.
booked all the time going to gigs and you need quality time, or if you can't,
Mm-hmm.
or if you know a lot of women are gonna always be up in his face and you ready to fight every sister at every church because they're
Well,
in his face, no
yeah.
matter how faithful and honest he's being, then that
Right.
can't be your man. And your family member can help
Yeah.
you.
That's good.
They can help you say, yeah, this is not the guy for you. You keep choosing this type of guy. Yes, this
Mm-hmm.
type of lifestyle and car, and he goes to Dubai twice a year, but these guys never commit to you. Your family member or friend can say, "This is not your type of guy." Hey, I know somebody, or I know if you're a brother looking, and you have a sister who's saying, "Listen, you ready to get married? You ready to settle down? Stop picking all these Instagram models who don't want to cook and don't want to have babies because they don't want to get stretch marks in their stomach. You talking about you want somebody to settle down with, you want to have kids, and you want somebody like mom, but you keep picking somebody who's completely opposite of mom. You're picking somebody who does not want to do any of the things that mom did when it comes to cooking and cleaning and all these things. So the family member I think can definitely help you. And then if it's not in the picking, if they're not helping set you up, definitely got to bring the person you're dating around your community, period, whether it's your family or friends group, because they need to
Mm-hmm.
help you. They need to help you scope out this person. They need to ask some of the tough questions you may be afraid to ask because you don't want to rub them the wrong way. And if they can handle it, they can answer the tough questions for your family that they're asking them. Then hey, that may be your person, because that means they really are committed to being around and they have nothing to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And don't do life alone. The Bible shows us so many different examples. Jesus, he didn't need the disciples to do what he did when he was on earth, but he was showing us you need people, you need community, and your community help hold you up. Hey, when if the relationship goes awry and things aren't good, and you need a shoulder to cry on, you got your friends, you got your community. They there with you, and but don't wait until it gets to that point of the relationship. Bring them in a little bit earlier on. At least have one person that you can confide in. Pray for discernment, and then somebody who can be honest and open with you about who you are,
Mm-hmm.
who you have been in the past in your own relationships. Because sometimes people like to say it's always the other person, but sometimes it's you. Maybe you didn't have good boundaries up front. You go all out in the beginning of a relationship, and then later when you're tired and exhausted, the person's like, you changed. But no, that's because you didn't have boundaries early on. And so your family member can say, hey, how about this time you take it slow? Let him pursue you. Let him call you first. Let him text you. All these different things. But yeah, I digress. I
Mm-hmm.
digress. Go ahead, friend.
Okay. No, you good. You good. I appreciate it. Um, so I think that everything that you said is true. Um, Modern culture values like personal choice, especially in the West,
Yes.
personal choice, and then chemistry and all of those things. But historically, that wasn't the case. It was families and churches and communities and friends that kind of helped. They were involved in the introductions and the vetting,
Yes.
you know, and so now, because many people meet through apps and social media and those types of things, or just in the grocery store, uh, that can be good. It also can be exhausting, because you're constantly, in a sense, you're always starting at ground zero, trying to get to know the
Mm-hmm.
person, versus if somebody, if a gentleman, and you've had experience with this person, as far as like You don't just know them casually. Like you're friends with this person, you go to church and you see their character, and you say, "Hey, Lorraine, I think this person might be a good fit for you, or I'd like to introduce you to this person." I'm not starting at ground zero. Like we still need to get to know each other and all that. But there's a person that we both love and admire and appreciate their discernment and judgment.
Yeah.
That's saying, yeah, because you could have thought, a lot of single people.
Yes.
So, but there's something about this person that made you think about this person, you know, as a potential,
Mm-hmm.
match. And so, though I don't think we should be trying to like, move people around like dice and, all of those things as far as matchmaking, I do think that it's really helpful when a person who you know and trust says, "Hey, there's this person that I think that y'all might connect, that you might have you might, that y'all might work together. There's something about your character and their character that I think would fit, and so I want to introduce you."
Yeah.
Um, and you mentioned some of the things like you don't know your blind spot sometimes, but people do. And so, like you were talking about the musician,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's also accountability.
Yeah.
You know, should we should have people involved in our relationships that um, help to support us and can tell us the truth and all of those things. People that who can say, "Hey, this doesn't look good for you," or "This is not," or "This does look good." And so, yeah, let keep take that next step as far as go on that next day, go on that whatever, keep pursuing that or keep being involved in that, because what I'm seeing in you because of that looks good. What I see in him, having those conversations and being open and honest about them. um I think that it's safer in many
Yeah.
respects. It doesn't mean all the time, because I've had a not great experience from somebody who um was I to through a friend. And um but it was one bad experience, so I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you will. Doing a lot of that today. And um I'm not going to just say never, I never want to meet anyone or set me up with anybody. No, I'm just saying that situation didn't work out. And when I still have to have discernment. I
Yeah.
still have to look at the red flags. I still have to look at behavior and say, "Oh, okay, no, this is bad." So they could not have known it was bad because it was in the context of dating that
Mm-hmm.
thing came out.
Right.
And so I say this a lot, like, when, for those of you who are in church, when you are getting a new pastor, and then they come to introduce the new pastor, and they say he's a great person, he's a this, he's a that, he's a whatever. And I always say, yeah, he's never been your pastor though. That's
Right.
in my mind. Like, he could be a great friend, don't mean he's a good pastor. He could be a great teacher, doesn't mean he's a good preacher. He could be a great all of these other things. He could be a great husband and a great father. It does not mean he's a great pastor.
Mm-hmm. Or
It just
great
means
fit for that church.
he's good at all the stuff that you know him for, but he's never been your pastor. You can only answer that question if he's been your pastor, and this is how he flowed as a pastor. And so that's the same as dating. I don't, if I've never dated that person, so I don't know how he is as a boyfriend. I just know the character that I've seen as a coworker, as a friend, even as a brother. Now, brother, you're a lot closer to typically, if you have a good relationship. So you probably know a little bit more, but I'm saying you never dated them. So there's still that part where it's like, it's not just because Onita introduced me to them that I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, let's get
Yeah.
married." like that whole two Christian thing, No, because I have to see him as a boyfriend, and then um I can discern for myself. But the fact is, I never get that opportunity if nobody's thinking, hey, I should introduce that person to Lorraine, or I should introduce that person to this friend or that, and the reality is a lot of times people don't think about that. Onita,
Yeah.
people do not, they just living their life and letting you. So now, but here are some of the downsides of that. You know, you can, if you're the person who's been introduced, you can feel pressure because people, like, every time you talk to people, like, oh, what about what's going on, and you just like, no. I'm
Right.
not
That's not a
interested
good
in
fit.
that. Yeah, in fact,
Right.
I just did this last year. I introduced one of my cousins to a former coworker of mine,
Okay.
and I mean, it was so former. Yeah, it was probably 10 years ago that we worked together, but we were good friends, and we still, and our birthdays are close to each other. So we always, mess each other. And I thought he was a great guy.
Hmm.
I said, if I was younger, because he's younger than me or whatever, that,
How much
and
younger?
we weren't working together,
Yeah.
and we weren't working together, then I would have, so, and she's an amazing person. So I said, I hadn't ever thought about it. And then I did. And I was like, oh, hey, introduce them. And then I never said another word to her ever. I
Yeah.
didn't ask him. I didn't ask her. Nothing. And it was probably many months later when she messaged, she was just like, hey, yeah, he's really cool. And I guess they had been talking. And then I said, oh, that's cool. And I never said anything more about it because I don't know what cool means. Do we like each other? Are we dating? Until you tell me, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then eventually she told me that it didn't work out. She did like him, but that's all you do is just say, hey, what about this? And so
Hmm.
the downside is putting pressure on people, or people feeling pressure, the awkwardness. And even the person who introduces the people can feel pressure because they feel like they have to have gotten it right because then
Right.
the other person will be mad at them. No, y'all can't do that either. The person is just trying to help you. So if they don't know that this person is a bad boyfriend, it's because they never dated them. Like, just,
Yeah.
I need y'all to chill out. Like, you have discernment. You don't have to get all deep.
Hmm.
Use your discernment. Um, People projecting their preferences onto you. So just because they think it's good, now we know this happens in church.
Hmm.
Just because they think that person's a good guy doesn't mean that person's a good guy. And they're like, "Oh, you should." Mm-mm. Just because someone's
Yeah.
single, doesn't mean that's what.
Right. He's single. He comes often. He comes to church often. Does not mean he's the best option for you. I think Plant Based Benny put a good
Yeah,
comment in there too.
yeah. Let me see. When you make that referral, tell them to also go in eyes wide open, and you don't make any guarantees, but you are led to introduce them. Absolutely. And I
Absolutely.
do think you should be prayerful.
Sure.
You should be prayerful. So, I think we're saying, that we need to. That is, it's not a bad thing to do. It can be a really good thing to do, but you have to be prayerful if you're introducing, and you have to be prayerful if you're being introduced to someone else, because God can open the eyes and go wide open.
Hmm.
Final question, Onita. Here's the final question. And this is important as it relates to everything we talked about, because we kind of got gleaned from this person online and that person on the podcast or whatever. How do we vet influencers on social media, especially relationship gurus? What are your thoughts about that as we start to wrap up?
First of all, we didn't.
We know that,
Go ahead.
go ahead, in the context of where we are, there's some There's some people, particularly someone who is being really castigated publicly because maybe she doesn't have criteria or credentials or whatever. But we're not talking about that person, but we're talking about the concept. There are people all over who are giving advice about relationships, and a lot of it doesn't necessarily come from a biblical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is one-sided. There are all these gender war type things. We hate women, we hate men, that kind of stuff. We don't do that here.
Mm-hmm.
um, but so how do you determine who you should listen to?
It was all so simple when we just said Oprah, Donahue, and Sally Johansson. Okay.
I love
Okay,
Donahue
that's what I'm saying. We didn't have all these
and
out
Oprah too.
have all these other people out here, and they were, there was their show, but they also brought on experts to
Hmm.
glean from and give their wisdom.
Hmm.
People who took time to actually get the education, study it, and before they got on the show and influenced millions of people to say this is how you should do something, not do it. But we're in a world today when anybody just have a camera and a microphone, and and
Hmm.
and now they become, and we've seen some good stuff come about, and we've seen some not so good, and then we've seen some downright what come about. And so one,
Hmm.
confidence does not mean competence. People can speak real
Mm.
confidently, but doesn't mean they're
Right.
correct. Doesn't mean they're correct. And having a lot of followers doesn't give you credentials. As in this case, somebody's out here saying they're a doctor and they have a lot of followers, but really doesn't have the real credentials and really should not be calling themselves that, because people, they listen in and listen up a whole lot more when they think I'm listening to Dr. So and so, the psychologist or relationship therapist. So I'm going to take it not as a grain of salt. I'm taking this as law because he or she has studied
Hmm.
and this is what they're saying. But virality, basically because they went viral, doesn't also equal wisdom. And so the Bible tells us to examine
Hmm.
the fruit. It says Jesus taught us to evaluate people by their fruit. Matthew 7:16, you will recognize them
Hmm.
by their fruit. And so, do they promote healthy relationships? And yeah, there's some people out there that they are doing that. They are promoting healthy relationships. But do they encourage integrity? Are they tempting you to try things that are downright crazy to test how disciplined you are, that go against the Bible principle of not seeing your spouse naked until the wedding night?
What could you
Are
possibly
they
be
speaking against that?
referencing?
I mean, come
Hmm.
on. Do they demonstrate humility? If this person is always talking with the finger pointing, and
Hmm.
it's always what you should do, and never showing any accountability or humility for what they have done in their lives, and what ways they may have gone wrong or right, and sharing from their perspective, are they really being humble? Are their teachings producing healing or chaos? Is it just chaotic and they're
Mm.
getting sound bites? And so I'm just saying what everybody wants to hear and what's going to get me booked. What's
Or
going to
what's
get me
controversial, and people
right?
want
Or
to
what's,
hear controversial stuff too.
oh yeah, because they
More
flock
so.
to it. Yeah, they flock to it. Am I
Hmm.
speaking with such a tone in such a way that I am going to get the views? Are they the same online and offline? Is
Mm.
this person this bold and bodacious also in person when you see them? Or do you see they've just wearing a mask and they put on this persona in the real? How healthy are their relationships? If this particular influencer is a relationship coach or doctor in that sense, do they have any healthy relationships? Or is everything always about the ex? So how can they tell you how to keep a man or get a man or keep a woman or get a woman or have a healthy relationships when they seem to have not had any? Can they admit mistakes? Like this is testing their
Mm.
fruit of,
We
and
should.
like beware of the content built entirely on outrage. And like you already said, if the content is always about controversy, what's going to provoke people, what's going to make them be
Hmm.
angry, what's going to have them doing criticism, but not what's going to help educate them, what's going to help heal them. Are they always talking down on people? And are they citing any references? Because again, if you go to school, I mean, especially grad school, I was getting my master's in education, and I had to write so many papers every week. You have to cite so many references because they want to know that that you've been researching, you've read, you've gone and seen published things. It's not just you didn't go to Wikipedia and you didn't just go to Chat GPT to get your sound bites and advice to add tonight to share. But do you have real references? Is there any complexity in what you're acknowledging? Like, is there any? Are they encouraging critical thinking? Any of that? Or do they oversimplify things? They say stuff all the time. All men are this. All women are that. You got to test the fruit
Mm,
and see that, and
mhm,
you really have to test the fruit. And also ask the Lord for discernment. And when we talked about this earlier about our algorithm, your algorithm to put in what you're clicking on. My husband and I were laughing one day because just on Instagram, and I was like, why does this and that pop up in yours? He's like, I don't know. My friends like it, and that's what come. I'm like, yeah, but no, mine's is I can't, my thing is curated. I recognize this is what I want in my algorithm, so these are the things I'm clicking on. So this is what's coming up, and typically I am. We're on this show, Live, Love, and Marry Wiser. So there's a lot of that. It's a lot of Bible stuff, healthy stuff. That's what's in there. But recognizing too that you gotta be careful what you're also putting, what you're liking and hearting, because that's what's going to be fed in your algorithm. But
mm,
testing the fruit,
mhm. Right.
really testing the fruit when you are now listening and being careful that the fruit you're eating on is more of the Instagram and the phones and less of the Bible, because really, truly, everything we need to know, or the main things that we need to know and learn when it comes to this thing about love, we can get from the word. I'm not knocking anybody, I mean, because we're here, we're doing what we're doing. But make sure that you're testing the fruit and you're also praying for
Mhm.
Holy Spirit discernment when it comes to listening to any influencer um, out here in this world of social media.
All right. Well, I think she covered everything. So we we should have had some sort of document that we could drop in the and so you could have it. But as we wrap here, thank you. Those were great. Those are real questions that we should ask. Some relationship content is preparing people for healthy partnerships. Other content is preparing people to stay perpetually suspicious and against
Mm-hmm.
this person, this group, and against that group. Christian marriage is not merely about finding a person, it is about becoming a healthy person, building covenant, practicing sacrifice, growing together, choosing love repeatedly. No, you should not marry just anybody. But yes, modern dating culture may have made people fearful, hyper selective, emotionally avoidant, endlessly searching, obsessed with certainty. The healthiest relationships are usually not built by perfect people who found certainty. They are built by emotionally healthy people who chose commitment, growth, wisdom, and love repeatedly.
Yes.
Listening to, but we also hope you're thoughtful about what you're putting out there. God did not intend for us to be against each other. Most of us have been hurt in relationships. It doesn't mean all men are anything. It doesn't mean all women are anything, except men and women. Other than that, we're all unique. And so don't miss out on your blessing because someone has made you or you have decided to be just angry and pointing fingers at everyone else. Look at yourself, become who God has called you to be, and then attract someone who is being who God has called them to be. If this conversation has been helpful to you or challenged you or made you think a little differently, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Thank you for your participation. And until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and Mary Weiser. God bless.